I am going to talk about the Association of Technology. I will talk to the help impair and also the emergence of expert and patient, also the addiction on money, and also it's the ethnography on the forum addict aid, and also reflections and research is the helping and the emergence of patients. There was the Alcoholic Anonymous. It is the institutionalization by the states until 2009. It is recognized by the state, and it developed with the emergence of this. We were before, at the beginning, it was on acute diseases that were, and then gradually we went to, first we have an asymmetry with, so people talk to their doctor with a paternalistic attitude and with a responsibility. So with the this time it had to be an equilibrated relation between the patient and the doctor. It was not to it's to live with your problem, your disease. We have to acquire competence of how to control your emotions and be able to talk with your the people around you. All these experience that has to be acquired, and it puts also puts into question what the doctor says. So we are there is a duality between the patient and the person who takes care with. We have to get informed with forum, with the networks, and so there's more experience shared. This is on the question of relations. The French institution, by a magic, they start to give more power to the patients, and there are two big events. The law of 2002, after big mobilization that was in the league. Also, there's another policy that is being developed, sanitary democracy with patient association, and this supposes the participation of patients. It was integrated in association. So the patients become activists. So it is the role of representative with association networks they are representatives of the users. The patient is more and more recognized, but this was not institutionalized, and there was a law, HTST, and this law put forward multidisciplinary. So we are changing completely our system, and we had a paternalist attitude, and now the patient becomes more and more active, and he is empowered, and it's centered, focused on him, and he's it's how do you he takes his drugs, how he travels on airplanes, and his transportation. So when this was institutionalized, it is in France, you are refunded. All the chronic diseases are totally refunded by the social insurance. When this was institutionalized, the doctor can have a science and the to be able to give this new approach, pedagogical approach. The caretakers usually become coordinators, and the other are educator, and the patients, they are formed to be, they are trained to be trained, other are trained for the educate. They receive 40 hours training. Now it is a couple of years ago. Now we had certified training. Now we have clearly diploma giving training, and now we have the ADL. It's the acquisition.
Non, nous on est.
The slides are not changing, Caroline. So. Well, it's I had this comment by the chat, and I wanted to be sure. Sorry to have interrupted you. I should have used my my arrow to show the. I'm going to go back and explain the link between the patient and the caretaker. So what one has to remember that there are many ways to train people for a relationship between patients and the caretakers. I just wanted to show in this slide that before you are one is from a person, then he is a sick person, then a patient, and then a patient expert patient. Then we are a patient when we are being taken care of, and we have the training that we receive, and we become expert patient. There are different ways of becoming experts. You can be an activist patient that you can also the training patient, the teaching patient that will teach, and you have also the mediator in health, so that, and the patient, the expert patient, or the these are different missions. This was a little introduction to the status of on the addiction. The expert patient is not a new. It's finally, I am talking about addiction and expert patients. The addiction is a psycho that ranges all the questions. I have the experience in my work. I like to visualize a concept You have different scales. You have a macro-social scale, so you have an application. We will see the alcohol and the sales. These are results we at meso-social scale. We will see the laws and explain why France is a hub and is positioned for the at micro-social. We are going to see situation about on a micro-individual. It's about the person, its beliefs, its symptoms, if somebody is taken with alcohol. So we have different strata, and you have neurobiology. To give a small example, so macro-social, you have the reduction of consumption in alcohol in France. Whereas we are, there is a reduction in alcohol consumption, but we still have a high. So now the gambling, we are going to analyze people in different, in function of their sex, about their social level, also social, economic, social democracy. This is the macro scale. At the meso-social scale, we will see the organization for the markets. So at this scale, we are going to see aspect. We are going to see the main sellers. You have three actors. It's Française des Jeux. Who you have PMU, Paris Mondial Urbain, that will deal with all the sports and also the casino. So we explain a little bit to explain a part of the human behavior. So I was talking about consumption. How are we going to come from a recreative game to the problematic game, and then the pathological game? If I take, we can see in at different classifications. The pathological players or the problematic 2% problematic players, and the pathologic players are 1.3%. How does a person become a pathological player? Usually we have three big phases. We should always there is something that we aim at gaining value, but people get used to, and then the person cannot never gain all the money that. But generally, we are going to see how people are going to become addicts. There are other authors that are trying to the psychosociological categories. You have a characteristic with people who are profile adventurer. These are risk persons that could become pathological. It's a way of saying that it's to analyze. You have other authors like Zuckerman, who studies the personality. He has a scale with many components, 4 the susceptibility to, it's the lack of inhibition. You have also susceptibility to boredom, and there are only the susceptibility to boredom for occasional, that distinguishes so these are the ways of translate why people become more addicted than others, and this is how to understand. And you have at the micro-individual level, you have the Beck. He believes that there are 7 types of beliefs, and you have boredom, anxiety, depression, and also for the pleasure, for stimulation, for disinhibition, or intellectually, or for the 7 types of expectation are going to bring automatic thoughts, and this will bring the need to use and you have the rationalization that will and you have beliefs, the rationalization to authorize. So then we go in another level, we look for the substance, and then we are going to consume, and if we, or reject, if we don't want, we decided not to be consumers. At the neurobiological, there are 2 big elements that key elements. We are going to have less dopamine energetic receptors, and we realize that it is psychological because there is no substance, but we will see the system is the same. There's no reduction of receptors, so we have something to clarify that is not clear. Nevertheless, addiction is not bio-psycho-environmental. Everything is linked. At the beginning, we have pleasure consumption. So this will reinforce our stimulation. Then we are going to have a habit, and this is going to mobilize lots of receptors, and also we are in the motrice, all this routine to go from a new situation. They will also develop, activate stress elements, and this is going to make our body to react, and we will have a biological modification, and we will feel bad without the substance, and so we will need to repeat. And there's the expectation. We are going to touch the amygdala and the hippocamp also. So everything is going to be completely complicated. So all the executive control is weakened. The executive control will allow bigger flexibility, and all the cognitive functions will be helpful to control these needs that are this need. So it is biological, but it's also due to the environment, and everything is also linked to psychology factors. So there are many people fall again in addiction after treatment. So we have the determinants. We are going, so the craving, the expectation. These are the strategy. I think that people who suffer from addiction have strategy for, they are center on the administration of feelings, but not. We try to look at different type of addiction, but mainly on the interpersonal determinants that will lead to more than a fall again in addiction. So finally, I arrive in what I do in anthropology of the health innovation. Why I talk about I try to follow innovation. There are three big parts. It's the intervention or the creation of innovation. It is the beginning. It's a theoretical level. So it is a micro-individual level. It's the expectation. And when we have to implement the project, there is a disciplinary team that works so that we analyze the interactions and the social friction, and this is arrive to the innovation, the individual choice, which is to be considered. We have to see the social impacts. I analyzed a little bit everything, and there are different ways to proceed the participant observation. So we understand the innovation. We have to see how it is being implemented. We draw a project, and then we have reception. We also do it's the attitude observation, observe the constraints. My work is to find the situation that will explain the behavior and that will explain change between theory and practice. There's a big gap between, so we have to see the constraints of the social play. I looked at the events that are going to develop consumption or rejection. So I try to understand practically. I try to understand their beliefs and use these beliefs. For me, the imaginary world that people, but these are only discourses. It's interesting, it's their belief, but what I am interested about is the concrete, what explains the practice of people and why the people.
As I come from neuroscience and cognitive science, I am also interested in all different issues such as attention deregulation and other forms of deregulation. To illustrate this, I'd like to talk about the ethnography of a forum. My methodology that I've used for this, it was a forum that was moderated by patient experts. This was an exploratory study sponsored by the Fondation Addiction, created by Professor Brenon, who passed away last June during the study. He was replaced by Professor Benyanimia. This addiction fund has different missions, including a platform for exchange, which is called the Addiction Village, formed by patient experts. These patient experts are part of the France Patient Expert Addiction Association. This association with the Addiction Fund created this certification that I spoke about. If you'd like more information, there's an article that was published on this, written by Alain Dejoux. So the issue that was at hand, the forum itself works very well, but there are not that many gamblers. Gamblers aren't attracted to the forum, whereas we know that base excessive gamblers are less likely to consult a healthcare professional or a support group. They will not consult a physician because they don't consider gambling as an illness. So they don't tend to visit physicians compared to other substance users or other addicts. So we wondered what was the use of the forum for pathological gamblers. So we wanted to see what were the expectations of forum users. To assess technologies, we looked at the acceptability of technologies. This is used in ergonomics and cognitive psychology. But there are three main themes: usability, usage, and social acceptability. Usage is a consistency between the operational needs of the user and the functionality of the tool. Usability will be user-friendliness, access, is it useful? For instance, the forum's usability. And social acceptability will influence if the user will continue to use a technology or solution. To understand the user and to understand the forum guests, we had to see how we could optimize the usability and determine if users would come to the forum or not, to determine what are their triggers, what are their needs, what do they obtain on the forum. This is what we put under the usefulness. What are the needs of the forum visitors or guests? First of all, we have to determine who are the people that visit the forum. What are they looking for? Is there something they can't find elsewhere? Is there something that can be found elsewhere, but they prefer to go to the forum? We wanted to assess the diversity of forum users, and we want to see how we can categorize them on different criteria. Since we didn't have a lot of forum users with Professor Renaud, we want to have a comparative base with alcohol addiction. So we looked at what people were looking for alcohol addiction, and then we want to compare this to gambling addiction. This gave us a comparison base. So you can see we had our sampling here. At the beginning, we only had 2 gamblers that started the discussion. I only focused on people that started the conversation. For alcohol addiction, there were more people that started the discussion. I'm not including everybody who answers, but so there are 113 people that started conversations. So the conversation starters, I only found 2 gamblers that were conversation starters. There were more for video games. I also had a group where we brought together the gaming addicts and the gambling addicts. So here you can see the breakdown of users. We can see that there are 5 mothers that discuss for their sons for video games. For gambling addicts, there were 2 gamblers and there were some of their support network people. Look at the challenges of visiting and conversation starters. First of all, there are people that visit the forum because they're trying to determine if they are really addicted and if they have an issue. So these visitors are looking for diagnostic. Then there are the other people that say they acknowledge they have an issue they would like to change. Either they're looking for information to determine should they opt for harms reduction or a complete abstinence. So they're looking for solutions. There are those that are just starting their abstinence. They're looking for information because they're surprised by what's available, and they're looking for information. Then there are those who relapse. For those who relapse, there are those who are afraid of relapsing and those who are strongly compelled to relapse and coming to the forum just express that. And then you have those that just relapse and are just restarting the red process. So they acknowledge they relapse, but they're going back to the forum to find new ideas for support. Since they fail and they return. And then you have another category of users, those that constantly relapse. They are looking for motivation and social support through the forum to resist. And there's also a fifth category where you have people that resist the urge. These individuals would like to testify about their addiction. So the first step, what we call the self-assessment for people to understand their use. They're looking for red flags. It could be ritualized use. It could be a social use, or it could see that the urge to use cannot be stopped. And these people are wondering for alcohol if this is a problem. For gambling, we didn't have a large sample, but with our sample, we only saw the surroundings that are questioning their close ones gambling because they're lying and stealing. So they visit to ask questions, and all the others were there for the next steps. So the role of the moderator is to inform about the addiction, provide possible tools for a diagnostic, and also provide the caregivers. If I look at the decision process, then there's the next day guilt. For the gambling forum, there's support through peers. For the alcohol addiction forum, they're looking for solutions. But for the gambling forum, there are people that seek support from their peers. So for alcohol addiction, you'll see that there is guilt of excessive consumption. But for gambling, you will often be guilt related to monetary losses. So they feel guilt because of financial impacts. So some are looking for cures and treatments, and you also have those who are looking for peer support. So the moderator's role is to determine should the addict go for total abstinence or harm reduction. They're looking for information on alternative solutions. And this can lead to the determination of a roadmap to start withdrawal. Then there's another category of people that are going through the first steps. These individuals are asking a lot of questions on psychological symptoms. They knew that they would have cravings, that they had trouble resisting, but they didn't know that they would feel sad, that they would have sleep issues. So they're coming to the forum to ask if this is normal. Those are their concerns, and they also come to the forum to resist to their cravings. They will express how they feel supported, but these forum users, need support 24/7 because they're in the first days of abstinence. One person visited the forum to anticipate the return from the treatment. This person came to the forum for support to resist the craving after treatment. That's for the alcohol side, but for the gambling forum, you have those who started their first steps for their withdrawal. They consulted a healthcare professional, but are still waiting for the appointment. So the forum is good to distract users when they need the support because of the waiting time. Other users of the gambling forum come to resist before they lose everything. And there was one specific case. It wasn't necessarily a gambling addiction, but it was someone who was addicted to the stock market. The person had a lucky number, but the day the person decided to stop, that the abstinence prevented the person to earn money on the stock market. So that was a person who was a bit of a desperate case that came to the forum. So some users want to be reassured on their withdrawal symptoms. So you can see a regular and tight form of support provided by the forum. Then there's another category of forum users. So in this fourth category, you have people that fear situations at risk, that fear triggers for their relapse. Some people would like to use a harms reduction approach. There are also people that are desperate because they tried everything without any success. And a lot of these forum users come because of unfortunate events. They relapsed and they come to the forum to try to restart their process. On the gambling side, a lot are coming because of their avoidance strategies failed. A lot of users have a definitive rejection of therapies. Nothing seems to work. For these users, people that are desperate because therapies haven't worked and they're looking for something else. And the role of the expert is relapse prevention. I don't know how much time I have left. You still have a few minutes. Let me double check. I'm not quite finished. So to quantify each category, this will give you an idea of the proportions. This is 31% of users that are trying to make a decision on their withdrawals. So they haven't started the process and they're coming to the forum for information to see how can they establish their treatment plan or the intervention plan. There's about another third of individuals that are the relapsers. And again, you can break down these people that relapsed. I will go through this quickly. This shows you the proportions of various profiles. A patient expert that I worked with told me that my categories were very similar to the PROCESSUS model used in various treatments. A PROCESSUS model is a change process with pre-contemplation, a prior intention. Then the individual starts asking questions, starts preparing action, will either maintain action or relapse. So this gives you an idea of the broad categories. But if I look at this model that was developed with the doctors that replaced Professor Renaud. If we look at the PROCESSUS process, we can see the forum has the steps of the PROCESSUS model, and people that consult addiction experts go through the pre-contemplation and intention phase. But at 0, those who aren't concerned about their abstinence. And you have this additional step where people are asking questions. They're not yet at the stage where they want to quit. They're not even in the contemplation phase. It's a little bit like the A2 stage. A2 are those who are in the decision process. They haven't made a decision, but they are going through the process. Those that are going through the first steps, they're at the first steps of their action, and they're not fearing the relapse. This is what I considered the category A4, those who did relapse. But before relapse, there are those who fear relapse. They're very motivated. So they're acting, but they're not in fear. Those who fear are those who resisted for a certain while to all their cravings, but they feel that with upcoming holidays and with different possibilities, they fear relapsing. I'll go through this quickly so we can better understand. In this forum, we don't see the same individuals. Addiction experts won't see the same people as the people that come to the forum. It was interesting to see this. We're not in motivational stages here. We're more in practice. Where is the individual? What are the operational needs? What are the individuals looking for? I wanted to show you this model. I've taken the PROCESSUS model stages. I tried to identify the stages with names, and I gave them codes. It's interesting to see what are the needs of the forum visitors, but we also want to see what triggered their decision to visit the forum. Usually it's the negative consequences of their addiction that encourages them to consult the forum, either to change or to ask questions. But it's always addiction consequences that bring the withdrawal. Before the negative consequence, there's consumption or use. And then if we look at what triggers the use, these are situations that are at risk of usage. This is in the anthropology of practices and usage, and in situations that explain the behavior. So I tried to look at all the triggers of use or relapse, all the situations that can lead to relapse or use. This is what I called predictable social events. It could be during celebrations, holidays. A lot of things can be predicted. A lot of events are predictable. And we can provide more support for anything that's foreseeable, such as support before Friday evening, and organize activities when it's more difficult to resist the craving. There are unfortunate events that are unforeseeable. Well, unfortunately, we can't prevent these, but we can provide support. It could be the passing of a close one, a divorce, arguments, and other reasons for which people will use or relapse. And then there are also the actions focused on a goal. Some people will use alcohol or use something to deal with another addiction. Some people started drinking because they quit smoking, or started drinking for an eating disorder. There also had people that were just bored and used alcohol just to reach another state. Some people had substance abuse issues to overcome their shyness or to be more sociable. One individual also used substances for sleep disorders. We can see also how different solutions can be integrated. If we look at now the negative consequences, which are triggered to visit the forum, but it's also a lever to look for change. So in the forum, we can remind the person about the negative consequences. For consequences, there are the cognitive and neuropsychological consequences, memory losses, loss of concentration, sleep disorders. There are the social consequences, such as fighting and divorce, behavioral consequences, such as aggression, violence. There are biological consequences, people that destroy their health, some people that gain weight or lose weight. And then there are the symbolic and psychological consequences, such as shame, guilt, anger, sadness, low self-esteem. These are all things that bring people to visit the forum. Now, in terms of gambling, I've detected 6 main triggers. Some are the same as alcohol addiction, to overcome boredom, the availability on mobile devices. There's also financial gains or losses. Losing money can be a trigger to excessively gamble. There are also inheritances for gamblers, which is sad for the loss of a close one, but often it could be an opportunity for gambler to obtain a large amount of money. So these are all different triggers for gambling. If we look at the triggers to visit the forum, there are those who lost significant amounts of money, but some that have stolen money. One woman came to the forum because she stole her friend's credit card. And that was the real trigger because she was so upset about doing this. There's also a user that came after losing someone close for more support. Some people want to come to the forum for peer support. There are also people that visited the forum because they don't want to have to speak to a banker. Normally, the banker already knows that this individual has financial issues. These are things that we always find in alcohol. We also have forum users that want to resist the craving before they can meet a healthcare professional or waiting for therapy. And there are the operational needs of visitors. They see the forum as a place to get information, for encouragement, to resist the craving, to share testimonies, and social reasons. There are 4 main profiles of gamblers. They're closely connected with their trust to the medical sector. There's also the perceived control of individuals. Some that believe that they can overcome their addiction alone, or some that believe it's uncontrollable and are looking for alternative solutions that could be supported by other people. 4 individuals came to the forum to try to quit gambling without professional support. So the forum was a way to compensate the gambling professional or addiction professional, the healthcare professional. Some came to the forum to resist the craving while waiting for appointments. There are users that were completely hopeless and thought the forum could be another solution. One had overcome the gambling addiction and was on the forum just to testify about his success. So the different usage models, often there will be usage, negative consequences, and then because of the negative consequences, individuals want help and they will anticipate their relapse. You can see the support against relapse provided by other forum users and by the forum itself. I won't go through this table, but this table shows you the different outcomes when we break down each situation. Here are there's the issue of the visit. There's the emotion and the register, where some people come to forum, they are not fearing yet that they're relapsed. There are those that are fearing their relapse, they're experiencing anxiety. There are some that feel temptation, they are nostalgic. There's iteration where some are sad because they'd like to resume their gambling. And there's disillusion also, which is close to despair. It's important to be consistent with the person's state. We try to adapt the support provided to the operational needs of the forum visitors. So I put all the visit triggers. What are the forum users looking for? What are the specific aspects of the gamblers? And what are the possible solutions through digital tools? It could be videos for people that want information. It could be links to external resources such as the DSM diagnostic tool. The decision could be a directory that is geolocated to see where to get support. It could be a logbook or a roadmap for change. For those who are beginning the process, the tools could be some quick games to fight the craving and for stimulation. There are also possible interactions with other human beings. For those who are in the introspection or self-assessment phase, they want information, but there's less added value than the A2, A3, and A4 forum users. So there's a lot that can be done. For digital tools, you can find ways to determine situations that are at risk. And for the different users who can provide adapted solutions. So some of the benefits of the forum, it's anonymous, first of all. And some forum users said that they went to the forum because they were afraid that their car would be seen outside a place for support groups. So anonymity was an important benefit of the forum. There's the fact that it was free to use, which is a benefit. There's a freedom to act. It's not engaging. There's free speech. Some people saw the forum as a way to be entertained, to support their fight against their cravings. The forum is also a way to get a reaction from patient experts. There are also quality responses provided by peers and people with experience. In this case, you have some peer addicts, but also experts that provide input. Another benefit is the wealth of information and content. So the forum is very good for various profiles. I had some questions on the acceptability. There's a third of the visitors that spoke about the acceptability.
Did they find their answer? It is a very important factor to the facility of using if they can hide from their husband or wife. So it is not always practical. So there is a kind of lack of confidence, and we have to have a follow-up. We not to lose them, and so it's not. But when we analyze a little bit deeper, it's on this question of security. We would like to do that, but we could build super tools and see the process, the emotional process, how to do an application or implementation. What a last point in the data of epidemiology, even if women become addicts, they are less numerous than men. But in the forum, it's the contrary. The majority are women on the forum. And they are also shared in a different category. In the first cases of abstinence, all the women are there. How to abstain? The majority of women have an action. Also, everything that is the question of money, and in gaming, usually they smoke and they drink. So when they succeeded in winning, if they have the winning of alcohol, we have to continue doing prevention for all the substance. So no, we know that if you stop gambling, you have to continue to prevent alcohol. And finally, it's how to attract gamblers or players, how are we going to follow the players, what is the security of their data. So it's a global process, and also how can we reduce risks, and finally how can we integrate the cognitive science with the follow-up of excessive players. People who have problems of the cortex, the frontal cortex, will have a difficulty to maintain their resistance. But when we make people work on their memory, there are less risk of relapse. So we could win people. Thank you very much for your attention.